Hi guys, second video here. Now I decided to make that first video a bit light because the second topic is not light, and it is quite we're going to be addressing the royal family's involvement and complacency with violence against women that marry into this family. Now, I want to just give a trigger warning to people. We're going to be talking about allegations of suicide. We're going to be talking about suicide, murder, and we're going to be, reacting to some of the some commentary around Virginia's Giuffre suicide. So, if this is something that is very triggering, as it is for a lot of people, please feel free to just ignore the video. So right now, I'm going to be reacting to some comments I've seen online, and I think it's quite important. So I saw this first on SK by reposted Sal the Algorist. You see this? I am making it, this is from Virginia Giuffre. I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form am I suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist and GP. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away. Help me protect them. Too many people want to see me quieted. Now, I will also clarify that this was posted a few years ago. I tried to find the original post, I couldn't find it. Please feel free to let me know in the chat. But apparently, it was quite a few years ago. So, obviously, things can change, circumstances can change, people change. I'm not saying that she's not or she wasn't feeling suicidal. A lot of people are suspicious about her death, me included, but it doesn't mean that she didn't kill herself. It's not impossible for you to get rid of someone by relentlessly bullying them, scaring them, maybe playing on their creating a mental and such mental or physical or emotional anguish for them that they get to the point where they feel this is their only option. Again, for the people that are watching or listening to this video, if you feel any type of vulnerability in any way and you have no one to talk to, please reach out to Samaritans. Please reach out, call 999. Do not sit down in your house and wallow, please. And this leads to a wider discussion around women that somehow get entangled in the royal family. If you do not fall in line, they are going to make your life miserable. They make you either want to live on your own or they kill you if you won't be quiet. And I really believe that's what happened to Virginia Giuffre and to Diana, allegedly. I know that Prince Harry and even William were always questioning what exactly happened to my mom. The only thing though is I think William fell in line, Harry didn't. And you can understand why William fell in line. Ever since he was a little boy, they've told him that he is going to be king. So it's very easy to manipulate somebody into keeping quiet. Now let me be very, very clear. William is in his 40s. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to infantilize him or say, oh, he has no accountability. From what I can see, he's a fully functional adult man. Anything that he's chosen to do with the information that I know him and his brother have on his mother is up to him. And he takes responsibility for it. But I am just saying that the system they live in, as Harry has said, is a machine. A machine that is a billion-pound enterprise. This machine, everybody is subject to, even the king, right? Yes, he's the head of state, but I have no doubt in my mind that the other lords, because that's how, if you watch a lot of these movies about monarchies, you see it's not just the king. The king has lords, advisors, people that are close to him who help him maintain his power. If you remember, when Harry was going after the press, like Lord Rotherham, I think he's the head of he's the lord that was, I think he was part owner or some of the owner of some of the tabloids or some of the press in the UK. He said explicitly in his mouthpiece, in his tabloid, that he specifically warned the king that this thing your son is doing, he needs to stop, right? So I have no doubt in my mind that the machinery around the royal family is not just the biological members of the royal family. If they decide they want to get rid of you, they will. When people ask, oh, is Meghan going to face the same thing? I think there are genuine concerns. We all saw the way Harry was protective of Meghan when they were in New York. And frankly, I think that's why Harry released his book. In as much as it was to tell his story, it was also a warning that, look, I am not afraid to do what I have to do to protect my family. Do not play with me or mine. And I think in many ways, and also I think in many ways that was a warning in itself to the royal family that don't assume because I am no longer here, I will mess you up. Whether you agree with that or not, that's fair. But I truly believe that that was a message. We're going to react to some people's thoughts on this. I'm very happy to see that I am not the only one. From Candice Holmes, Virginia Giuffre, she got 12 million hush money from Andrew Epstein, died in prison. Maxwell's jailed, and now she's dead at 41. You tell me the system protects its own and buries the truth.
One of the women who accused Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of sexual abuse has died, aged 41. Virginia Giuffre's family has released a statement confirming her death at a West Australian property last night. They described her as a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse and sex trafficking. Giuffre was one of the most vocal accusers of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, alleging she was trafficked by them to the Duke of York when she was 17 years old. Prince Andrew has strenuously denied the accusation.
The reason I don't believe Andrew is because the same thing the British press do. They pretend like our eyes are not working. No, don't believe what your eyes are seeing. Listen to us. So I don't know how that picture could have possibly happened if Andrew did not at least know this woman. So that's neither here nor there. Let's go to the next one.
Who's driving it? No deep. We have some crazy news, and I don't believe it for 1 second. Jeffrey Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, has died by suicide. I mean, she literally said a week or two ago when she got hit by a random school bus that we have no details about. Like, do we even know that if there was kids on the bus? We don't even know who was driving it. No details were released about it. It's so sketchy. Just a few weeks ago, the Daily Mail, I'm not suicidal. Virginia Roberts, chilling message saying, if something happens to me, do not let this go. Evil people want me quiet. And I totally believe it. The Epstein client list is about to be released. People don't think that it's going to get released, but it's going to soon. And if it was, she would be getting questioned about Jeffrey Epstein. They don't want her answering questions. Guys, let me know what you think about this. Hit the follow button, and we'll see you later.
The only thing I don't agree with him is I don't think that text, that message he released about suicide came out years ago, not weeks ago, but he may not know that. And yeah, let's continue. I really enjoyed this lady's commentary. Let's listen.
Special. This is not the first death of a woman where the royal family have been implicated in one way or another, is it? And I say this as a professional that's working in the violence against women and girls space. Why are violence against women and girls organisations cozying up to the royal family? Why are you going to events at the royal family? Why are you going to meet Queen Camilla, who's she's campaigning against violence against women and girls? Shut the front door. No, she is not. Why are you getting sucked in? How can you be that naive? Grow a fucking backbone and stop engaging with them. Boycott them. The royal family are not a safe place for women. They never have been. They still aren't. The royal family literally funded Prince Andrew's out-of-court settlement for Virginia Giuffre, who he trafficked, right? Who's now dead. Diana died in a car crash. We know full fucking well that both of her sons have questioned that death. We know the background of that. We know that the royal family was spreading rumours that she was mentally ill. She gave a speech about it, saying that, according to the press, I'm going to be hauled off by men in white coats very soon. Shortly after, died. She knew the palace was spreading those rumours who was fucking her husband? Camilla. I'm sorry, but how can you believe that the royal family cares about women? What about Meghan Markle? Meghan and Harry have had to leave the country because of what they were doing to Meghan. They've left the country and the royal family. You're not seeing a pattern develop here. I cannot get my head around how domestic abuse organisations, sexual abuse organisations, Vogue organisations in the UK are going to these events with the royal family and lapping it up and posting pictures with Camilla and being that the Queen cares about abuse. Oh, do they fork? Grow up. I can't. Just boycott them and have some integrity for women, because they don't give a shit, do they? That's... What more evidence do you want? Meghan Markle was literally bullied to within an inch of her life and gave, interviews literally saying that she was going to end her life as well, and Harry said the same thing. Virginia Giuffre, after all of these years in the public eye, has ended her life after she was mysteriously hit by a bus several weeks ago. And Diana died after being hounded relentlessly, framed as mentally ill, framed as problematic, and then died in a car crash. What is our Vogue sector doing? Is there literally any integrity left? So someone's got to say it. Women's Aid, Refuge, Safe Lives, and plenty of other smaller regional Vogue organisations. Are you going to cut ties with the royal family, or are we just going to sort of stay quiet whilst women just die? What's it going to be? We're just going to turn a blind eye to the royal family's role in Virginia Giuffre's death, or are we just going to keep going to parties to feel special? This is...
I mean, what more can be said? She's absolutely right. Silence is complacence. Not saying anything, pretending like you don't know anything. You are co-signing. And let me also bring up the many ways the royal family, Meghan is the perfect example in recent times of the machinery bullying a woman out of this, literally out. They wanted her gone. But what I didn't think they thought was going to happen was Harry was going to follow her to go. They probably didn't see that coming. They probably also didn't see it coming that Harry and Meghan would be thriving. Because again, that arrogance, that assumption that they have that outside the royal family, why would you possibly want any life outside this amazing life we've given you? I like what she said. It was fantastic. Now I have some other reactions that I would like us to go through, specifically around Prince Andrew. Let me start from Prince Andrew and how they are going out of their way to introduce him back into the fold. This was a few days before Virginia Giuffre's suicide, by the way. Shout out to Josephine Imisiola, Imisio Olua, because like I said, we are getting monetized more and more. So she posting these videos makes it possible to react. I was going to react to this video, but shout out to her for making it available.
That he's retired from Prince Andrew at this point, that he's retired from royal duties, but he will just continue to take part in family events.
We are, we have intelligent viewers watching this show, and all three of us, have been reporting on the royals for many years. So we know the difference between, an official royal engagement and a family engagement. So the optics on him attending Easter, there are people that see this. They see him attending what is a big press event. There's lots of TV cameras there. There's lots of family members there. They see it as bad optics, that it looks like he's trying to ingratiate himself back into the royal family.
That's what they want to see, of course.
I will say this, the photo of Prince William driving Prince Andrew to church, I think it was the first summer break at Balmoral after the late Queen had died. And I understood why Andrew was there for that. Of course, that's a family occasion, and not only a family occasion, a very emotional and significant one. But those images do stay in your mind when you have someone who's as reputationally damaged as Prince Andrew, and you see the heir to the throne, who was extremely popular, driving him and the two of them there together. People are going to see that, and
that was just full on fan fiction, but okay.
It stays with them. The fact that I've just recalled it as we're talking about it instantly, I think that there is an element of that to it, where you do have to be very careful of the optics, because it's a business. The monarchy is an institution that needs to continue to survive, and its reputation is very important. So, I know there's a lot of layers to this one.
What about a little bit of human compassion on Easter Sunday? Showing that he's still on good terms with his immediate family. We saw them chatting with each other perfectly happily.
But as you've said, we can distinguish. We, of course, know the official engagements. And I do think, as I said, that with family occasions, that comes down to King Charles making the decision to include his brother. And I can understand that. I think that's the human compassion element. But beyond that, I think there is a very fine line where they need to continue to be careful that they're towing the line of the optics, so that
But he also has never said anything in public. When he was asked to step down, he meekly and quietly stepped down.
Yeah. It's a really interesting point here, because not many people come out in support of Prince Andrew. I'm not saying you're coming out in support of Prince Andrew, but you're giving the line that maybe it is a time for forgiveness, maybe it is a time for stop creating controversy every time he shows his face at a family event.
Yes, my feeling really was that the press didn't have enough to talk about on that occasion. You know, the Waleses weren't there because they were spending their, weekend in Norfolk. Had the little kids been there would have no doubt been a lot of focus on that. I think it's all ridiculous, to be quite honest. I think he should be perfectly. He goes to St George's Chapel from time to time for other events, very quietly, and why shouldn't he?
There's so much to unpack there. It doesn't surprise me that Bronte, even though she's an idiot, because she's a millennial, I presume, she is a millennial, or Gen Z or whatever, she is, you can clearly see the difference. Matt is just a shit stirrer. Bronte is trying to let these people understand that old man Vickers, this is not about you. This is about optics. And I have to give it to her. This is probably the only thing she's ever been right on in my time of listening on this show. The optics matter. People do not like Andrew. Period. Whatever your feelings are, this is not a case of the British press trying to lie, trying to, make us, trying to sell us BS. We have eyes, we can see, we know how we are feeling about Andrew. People don't like him. People see him as a pervert. I think he's a pervert, and I don't want to be seeing him. And whether it's an official engagement or just with his family, I don't give a shit. I don't want to see Andrew. Period. That's my feeling, and I think Bronte understands that. But that idiot Vickers, because I'm presuming Boomer, Gen X, he is again towing the party line that, it's been time. It's not time for some compassion. What? Compassion. Randy Nance was having sexual relations with an underage young woman who was a trafficked victim. Let me keep quiet so that we can understand that. Even if she wasn't trafficked, why on earth was Andrew having sexual relations with underage girls? He did it and it meant nothing to him because it's not his first time doing it. Epstein was his friend. He's been on Epstein's island. Are you delusional enough to believe that Andrew wasn't doing this regularly? It's a well-known fact that Andrew liked young women. What Andrew is one of the reasons why I'm very passionately against the royal family. You claim that your life is an act of service because by an accident of birth/birth lottery, you happen to be born into this family. You know your history. Instead of you to try and take that history and do some good in this world, because God knows these people don't work. There are so many things Andrew could have done with his life that can actually be beneficial for people. Look at Harry. Andrew was also the second born, the spare. But where Harry chose to take the pain and the stress and the punching bagism of his position, and maybe that gave him empathy, Andrew decided to abuse his own power. They made it, what was he, like a business attaché for the British government, which is just code for they were using him to get deals with shady governments they probably wouldn't have. They wanted to flatter them by dangling a member of the royal family in front of their face. And from what I've heard, Andrew was very good at it. Even if he didn't want to add any value on this earth, that should have been something he should have just got on with. No, and Andy wanted to live like a wild guy. He wanted to enjoy this privilege that he doesn't deserve and hasn't worked for. So he was going on people's yachts. Became friends with Epstein, allowed Epstein to use him as a way to probably even grow his own social circle. Go and kicking and cacaing on Epstein's island to have sex with underage girls. And you're telling me, and let me be clear, Andrew was well into his 30s when this happened. So he's not some shy flower who was confused and deceived in his teens. This man was well into his 30s when this happened. He was well into his 30s where he had sex with Virginia Giuffre. The picture says it all. He was well into his 50s when he gave that stupid BBC interview. So please don't play in our faces. Andrew has no business. In short, Every time we see Andrew, we are reminded that this man continues to take our taxpayer money and live his best life. You've all seen the palace he lives in right now that his brother tried to get him out of and he refused. That is what Andy is enjoying while we taxpayers are struggling to pay rent, struggling to pay our mortgages, struggling to pay our gas bill. But according to Vickers, because he wants to toady up to the royal family, he deserves some compassion. Fuck you. Excuse me. F you, Vickers, and F you, Andrew. No, you don't. Virginia Giuffre, whose life was cut short, deserves our compassion. And frankly, to me, the one, even though she didn't get any respect while she was alive, I posted a video of Peter, what's his name? Peter, he's the Australian commentator. Look at the way he spoke about Virginia when she got hit by a bus, that people are beginning to question, was it really a bus that hit her? That, it's weird. And I was like, what? Now she's dead. The only thing Virginia deserves right now, and I hope that somebody can help her with this, is justice. We need to know what happened. And even though, again, I don't want to traumatize her family because she's a mother, can't even imagine what her kids must be going through right now. And her family must be going through right now. But I think for the sake of her legacy, so that she will not be forgotten in history and Randy Andy will be allowed back into the public, because that is really what they are trying to do. That's why Hugo was here toadying and talking nonsense. That's what they are trying to do, get him back. Somebody needs to do their investigation and help us find out what exactly happened to Virginia. We can't let them win, guys. So that's what I wanted to say very quickly. There's a comment here. And for those of you who don't believe that Meghan continues to get bullied by the royal family, let me just play some excerpts.
Got in the car and had gone out to sort of tell. It's not clear what he was doing exactly, the gardener. I mean, perhaps he was mowing the lawn or something nearby, and she'd had a real go at him. Complaining about something. Well, anyway, what then happened was he'd obviously mentioned this to his bosses or whoever, and Queen Elizabeth had come back. She'd actually, I think, got in the car and come back to say to Meghan, that's not how we treat staff.
Wow.
Now, this is what Hugo Vickers had been told. And I felt it was very interesting, but it does relate to this subject we've spoken about before, which is the way that the royal family tend to see their staff as almost members of the family.
What?
Whereas Meghan may have come from a culture in sort of show business where people were just, doing a job. He may have felt that he was doing what he was asked to do, perhaps mow a lawn nearby, and she didn't want the noise. Who knows? Yeah. But clearly it upset the late Queen.
Well, sorry.
Do you see an example of? First of all, it came from Hugo Vickers. Nobody. You know what? I didn't let them finish talking. I'm very sure somebody is going to ask them, who told Hugo this information? Let me check. Let me just...
This goes back to the point I was making earlier, that the royal family occupy such a strange existence because they're the most crowded people in the world. They have all these big castles and palaces, yet they are constantly surrounded by people. There are staff everywhere. And so you have to have this strong element of trust. And in doing so, you treat these people well. And if you do, these people won't talk about you because you have enormous loyalty and respect. And I think that was always the problem for Harry and Meghan in particular.
I was wrong. But I knew I would be. But I just wanted you guys to hear that. Maureen came up with a story that he said he got from Hugo Vickers, Chinese whispers. Nobody bothered to ask, who told Hugo? I find it hard to believe the Queen would have told anybody this. This is not true, guys. I don't even know where Hugo got the story from. He said, I'm sure it's going to be a source told him. Okay, who's the source? Who's the source, Hugo? Again, the bullying allegation. This is an example of them bullying Meghan. This same idea that she's difficult to work with, she's a bully. You guys have watched her show. You've heard her talk. Does this even sound remotely like something Meghan would do? Doesn't even sound plausible. I don't know Meghan personally, but this doesn't sound like anything that sounds true to me. But because these three idiots are paid, make their money lying. This is in its own way a form of violence, because you're going out of your way to try and spoil somebody's reputation, especially when it comes to workers. Because if you spread rumors enough that she's difficult to work with, she's a bully, people are not going to want to work with her or give her opportunities. Or more importantly, listen to what he said. He was saying in America, they treat employees differently. The royal family treats their staff as family. Right. When William and Kate were looking for PAs, from what they said in the, let me paraphrase the job posting. It sounded like a very high pressure, high intense, high frequency job. Do you know they were offering 30K? I don't think, was it up to 30K, 35K for that job, for a PA, for a personal assistant role. These people earn 50 million a year. They were offering a PA 30K. With the way they run through staff, you expect me to believe they treat their staff like family. That's what I'm saying, guys. It's all part of the machine, which these idiots are part of, to spread misinformation and make you think these people are something they are not. And this is the point I was trying to make, that they spread this misinformation because, again, they're basically saying, don't trust your eyes. What you're seeing is not what you're seeing. Listen to what we are saying, even though it makes no logical sense. And yeah, I was going to talk about this. This video has been, let me keep it serious because I think I have one more article I want to talk about Virginia Giuffre, but I think I've covered it all. I listened to the commentators. Yeah, I've covered it all. I don't think I have anything else to say. But yeah, I'm going to keep my eye on this story, and I'm going to keep, because it continues to develop. I'm very sure people on the internet are going to continue to do their work and find out exactly what happened to Virginia. Why am I interested? Because I want us to make noise, guys. I told you before when I started this process that for me it was about the noise making. We've allowed these people to get too comfortable. We've allowed these people to spread misinformation, lies. I just gave you an example of a straight up, I don't even know where they got that nonsense. If we put a gun to Hugo Vickers' head right now and we ask him, where did you get this information from? I'm sure he will confess that he made that shit up himself. They all have no shame, guys. No shame. Now, I'm going to give a quick reaction because I think it's very worthy and very funny to the online safety that Harry and Meghan they allowed some of the press into I would call it a get-together conference around online safety. I think it was part of their charity where they were showing social media and the impact on children, the memorial. And then I'm also going to very quickly react to some nonsense Hugo Vickers said. And I think we're done with the video.
Years now, which is the dangers to children from social media. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex met with a group of families last night who believe social media played a part in the deaths of their children. The BBC's John Kay was there and will play you that interview in just a moment or two. Well, separately today, British and American parents who've lost loved ones took part, but this is the audio which starts with Meghan talking about the stories she'd heard from various families.
These are families that we have been working with for several years, and the families from the UK meeting them tonight, I think sort of speaks to the larger global issue that has been very present on all of our minds for years now, which is no matter how polarized the world is or what people may or may not agree on, one thing that we can all agree on is that our children should be safe. All of our children should be safe. And I think tonight all of these stories solidify that.
I'm an incredibly new parent.
So congratulations.
Asking for advice because social media is so prevalent. What would you say to parents who are trying to navigate social media with their kids right now?
Well, the easiest thing to say is to keep your kids away from social media. The sad reality is that the kids that aren't on social media normally get bullied at school because they can't be part of the same conversations as everybody else. Life is better off of social media. I say that as a parent, and I say that as someone who's spoken to many of the kids here tonight who aren't on social media because they've lost a brother or a sister to social media. But clearly enough is not being done. Right, some of the stories here are truly harrowing. Having done this for the last 3 years, being aware of it for the last 5 years, you think you've heard the worst of it until nights like this. Here in America, some of these stories, they're crime scenes, like full-blown crime scenes, and yet these companies are getting away with it by saying we don't need to give you disclosure. For the UK families, some of the arguments that are being made around privacy. So you're telling a parent, you're telling a dad and a mum that they can't have the details of what their kid was up to on social media because of the privacy of their kid. The parents who have seen their kid from the time that they were a child, it's wrong.
Where do you hope this goes next then? What would you like to see change?
I think the work that we've been doing through the foundation, specifically the Parents Network in this program, creating this community for all of these parents, and beyond the parents, the families, the friends of these, the siblings, the friends of these children, to really be able to maximize the global messaging on it, because it is a universal truth that our children are in harm's way by what's happening online. And I think for those who do choose to be online and to be in social media as adults as well, that we get to set the example and really put as much good and joy into the world as we can. It's like that old quote, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. And I think in many ways what we see through these parents is the hope and the promise of something better, because every single one of them in their resilience is an example, as they will say, their mouths, if you're able to speak to any of them directly, they just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. And we are just here to support them in that in such a huge way. One of the fathers said, he's like, all of these photographs, as you can see, illustrates the children that are lost, but we don't have our photographs of all the children who will be saved. And it's so powerful if you look at it through that lens. So that's what we're here to support.
It's like beautiful. It's like really it's so dark, but at the same time there's like a silver, I don't know if silver lining, I don't know what it's
Well, it's a language that no one should have to speak, but they can speak the same language with each other. Yeah. And we're so grateful to have created that space for them to be able
And it's a community that shouldn't even need to exist. Yeah. And yet it's a growing community every single day, tens of thousands of parents. Like it's.
What thoughts do you take home with you to your children?
We're just grateful that our kids are too young to be on social media at this point.
And when you think ahead, when they won't be able to avoid it?
One of the reasons why we're doing this is because us, collectively with all these parents, want to make sure that things are changed, right? So that no more parents and no more kids are lost to social media. It's unacceptable, it's wrong, it's no longer a secret, and yet these companies are given this power to be able to conceal the truth from parents as to why their kid took their life.
So you see, that was very powerful actually, and I think it was nice hearing from them. But the reason why I said this was funny, not that the message was funny, the fact that listening to Harry and Meghan talk was considered to be breaking news, because it just shows how effective they have been in completely icing out the press. The press, with all their tantrum throwing and throwing all their toys out of the pram and screaming and shouting and lying and exaggerating like Maureen and the idiots on his podcast were doing. You don't have access, love, and you will never have access. And every other day, their narratives are destroyed. And it's such a big deal for them that they were able, they had to call this breaking news. They didn't even have camera footage. And I'm very sure Harry and Meghan probably didn't even know who John Kay was. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have spoken to him. But let me be clear, the fact that he was there at all says a lot about. They wanted press there, but they were probably very careful about it because, again, notice no camera. But hopefully the message resonates around online safety, right? But because the British press and all the people that are making money lying on this couple don't seem to see the irony, I'm sure it won't. But yeah, I wanted to quickly touch on that because I didn't have it before. And to close, let me just quickly play this by Hugo Vickers, because he made a very stupid point.
To very much off message, and entirely, as usual, focused on her and what she was doing, and she professes to be extremely happy. Well,
basically, this is him reacting to Meghan's Time 100. I told you the interview I just played now was a few days before, or the same day as it, so they didn't have the footage, I don't think, by the time they released their Daily Mail nonsense. But yeah, this is him reacting to the Time 100 interview and being a hateful bee, like he always is, saying that, the focus was about her. Yes, Hugo, it was about her, because they invited her to speak at the summit. If it hadn't been about her, what would have been you know what?
Delighted to hear that, because I'm not sure how happy she's made other people. Certainly over the last few years, when she's sent out all sorts of very unpleasant messages which have upset certainly many people in the British royal family, and over here. And so to use an occasion like that to, one, promote your own Netflix show, and two,
again, Hugo, since there's clearly something wrong with you, they invited Meghan to talk about her projects. That's why she was there. And she was answering questions that were asked to her by the CEO of Time Inc. What did you expect her to do? What were you expecting? I tell you that these royal commentators, when you hear them talk, there is something fundamentally wrong with these people.
To profess that all is well in the world and that you're happy and your children are happy and everybody else is happy, does seem to me, to some extent, rather inappropriate. What? Before she married Prince Harry, she was doing rather a lot of philanthropic work, as a lot of film stars do. She addressed the United Nations, and she went to African countries, and she was involved in all sorts of things. But yes, I mean, now it all seems to be focused on promoting herself and her business activities. There seems to be very little about philanthropy in many things she said last night, and talking about herself as a little fairy sprinkling joy and happiness everywhere. That seems to me rather irrelevant, but I'm sure that they were delighted to be invited to this because, as you say, it was an occasion where a lot of movers and shakers were present, and so to be included in this sort of list of people who are global influencers, I guess, will have been absolutely grist to their mill. I have thought for a long time that Prince Harry has looked extremely unhappy. He's a very different man than he was when he was a working member of the royal family and putting things into life. You're usually happier, if you're putting things in rather than taking things out. I mean, it's a simplistic thing to say, but it's usually the case because you're actually doing good for other people. And certainly there have been lots of images of him recently looking very dejected, and so if she is happy, I'm not sure that he is. So in that case, I would agree. It does seem to be rather pushing out, a message which wasn't entirely all very much off.
So basically, Hugo Vickers is jealous, as they all are. They're all bitter and pressed that while they wanted Meghan to suffer, again, going back to our point of the violence against women in the royal family, they pushed her out with the expectation that she will go and be miserable in LA or go and be miserable walking barefoot on the street, destitute and poor, while Meghan is out here being a tastemaker, a CEO, getting the respect as an entrepreneur, businesswoman, future billionaire. Guys, like you heard it first. They are pressed. This entire 2 minutes was just hateration, was just hateration and pressedness. And since Hugo Vickers says he in a 1 minute, in a train of thought, he contradicts himself, dances around like an idiot. But yeah, I just wanted to again, and if I start giving out all the examples of how Meghan is bullied, and it is an industrialized, approved royal families and press directive to bully this woman, no matter what she does, because again, her continued existence outside their confines cannot stand, because the last women that tried to go out on their own, Diana, they killed. Virginia Giuffre, who stood up to them, suspiciously ended up dead. They don't want that. They want her gone. I really do think they want her gone. And, I think it's up to us. The reason, again, to remind everyone, while it's all nice to post these videos, we need to always keep growing the community, keep making noise. Because Virginia, I think, God bless her, what happened to her, because even though she got that 12 million from the Queen, she still did not have the amount of scrutiny that Meghan and Harry has. And I think in a way it's a good thing, because the media is always keeping an eye on them. If anything weird happens, we will all know, right? So keep on growing the community, guys. Keep making noise. We need to know what happened to Virginia, because if we're not careful, the same machinery could try and do other things to other women. It may not be Megan. It certainly won't be anybody. I'm very confident it wouldn't be, but it could be somebody else, and we cannot keep allowing this to happen. So, like I said, I'm going to keep my eyes on this story, the Virginia Giuffre story. I'll give you guys regular updates as I find them, and then yeah, let's find out what happened to Virginia. So I just wanted to cover that quickly, and yeah, Hugo Vickers is an idiot. But yes, guys, please let me know your thoughts. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share. I know my videos were weird this week. This week was what has been weird, but I'll catch up with you guys from next week. Take care.